Mark, thank you so much for being with us today. We're looking forward to today's employer webinar series. Today, we're going to share with you some of the information about what the Entrepreneur Source does. We'll show you a slide. We'll answer any questions that you have. It's really a fascinating program. Mark, thank you so much for being with us today. I'm going to let you take the lead on the presentation and share with us a little bit about what the Entrepreneur Source does, how you help veterans, what you've done to give veterans a different option rather than joining the workforce and giving them kind of an independence. We're really excited with your program. Thank you again for being here. I'm gonna let you take it from here.
All right, well, thanks, Boyd. And I wanna thank all the folks on your end. You are a top-notch organization, and we just really love supporting veterans. We do about 95% of our business is with veterans and different veterans groups, and I am a veteran. My lovely wife Cindy here is a spouse. We just are really happy to and enjoy working with veterans. We just really firmly believe that they need help in their transition, and we want to be there for them. So I'm ready for my.
All right, I'm going to let you.
There we go. Thanks, Boyd.
You're welcome.
So Cindy's not going to stay with us. We want to give you options for your career and your transition, and we want to make sure that we help set you up for success and give you a little bit different look at your career going forward, right? So here's our agenda today. So we're going to just go through this, talk a little bit about entrepreneurship, some of the options and the pros and cons. A little bit about financing, not too much. We do have funding partners that we use on a regular basis that are absolutely great at what they do, and that's all they do. And then we'll have a little bit of time for questions in the end. So here's our contact information. If you get out your camera and you can take a picture of it with your phone, you can reach back to me. You can either text me, phone me. My email address is mblomquist@esourcecoach, all one word there, .com. And you can certainly, we can set something up and start a conversation for you. I'm going to stay on this page just a little bit so you can take that picture. The next slide actually talks about who are we. We are the Entrepreneur Source. We are a coaching firm that helps people transition in all aspects, both from the military and just in their careers. We work with a lot of people that have been laid off and or just looking to get into something different. Cindy comes from the background of, she owned her own business for 12 years as a direct marketing person. She went into people's homes and sold product, and she did that for 14 years while our kids grew up and was very successful, became nationally recognized as a trainer and a top leader in that organization. She went on to become a general manager of stores, different restaurants, and she was actually a HR director. She was a bookkeeper. We both went into Little Caesars. We bought our first Little Caesars, or invested in our first Little Caesars, sorry, back in 2009 when I got laid off. And she was our trainer, our HR and bookkeeper, and she helped just make sure that the stores were run properly. So as far as I come from a background, I've been working in and around the franchise community for my entire career. I worked for a franchise in hotels and then in motels, and then I started a long career in restaurants as an assistant manager, working my way all the way up to reporting to the chief operating officer of 2 restaurant companies, having 130 restaurants that I took care of, and I coached them through any kind of issues that they would have: marketing, staffing, standards, rebuilding, adding additional units, just all aspects of growth. I was laid off from that position after 22 years, and I came home, tell Cindy, because I kind of knew it was coming. And Cindy said, I said to Cindy, well, I'm laid off. Now what do I do? And she said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I'd like to get into business. And I spent 2 months driving all over the countryside because the company left me a car. And I did all my due diligence driving all over the place and looking at different franchises and different business opportunities. And we got into Little Caesars and ended up with 3 of them. We sold them about 2 years ago when our daughter's children were transitioned out of Turkey. They were emergency evacuated. They came to live with us. We just didn't feel we could dedicate the time we needed to be there. And so what we did is we sold them and moved out to Washington State and started the Entrepreneur Source, where we are a franchise. And we do all the stuff, help you get to a point where to look at business opportunities, and we can help you in many different ways. So here's our mission statement. And Cindy and I, this is one of the first things we did when we put together our business and our business plan. Our number one goal is to help people explore new additional career options through business ownership. We are a coaching firm that educates people who have a desire to learn more about becoming self-sufficient and taking control of their destiny. We don't cost you any money. We never charge. We don't sell anything. We work for you. We get paid from the business community if and when you get placed. But we are absolutely on your side of the table. And we're in the business of possibilities, options, and dreams. And we do that through education, awareness, and discovery. We try to knock down all of the fear and all of the things that people get worried about. We try to get you to a point of clarity, okay? And that's very, very important, that point of clarity. So here's why veterans are so uniquely qualified for business ownership. And I hear it from so many veterans that they just, how am I going to translate all the stuff I did in the armed forces into civilian life? And here's a great list. I mean, I put this list together. I thought it was pretty spot on. You have unique leadership, management, teamwork, and tactical or critical thinking skills. You understand the importance and the value of a proven system. You have high work ethics and moral values. You have discipline and you're mission focused. I will tell you that our franchisors love veterans because of this line. They just love the fact that here's your mission or here's your business in a box, go execute it. And same thing if you get a mission from your superiors, right? Here's your mission, go execute it. You're self-motivated and you're resilient and you're self-confident and you're self-orientated. So what are you looking for? Are you looking for a bigger house, send the kids to a better college, go on more vacations, build a empire, add to your retirement, retire early? And a lot of folks in transition from the military are already retiring, but realize the fact that you can't make ends meet on retirement from the military, but you need to have either some other source of income. And we're just trying to give you a different look at that. So it's time to work on your future. The best years of your life are the ones in which you decide your problems are your own. You realize you control your own destiny. And that's an Albert Ellis quote. So how do you build wealth? Imagine if you could design your perfect career for yourself. What would it look like? Would it be a job? We like to say, is it a job, just above or just over broke? Independent business, or would it be a franchise? You know, you got to look at what is the best choice or the option for you, right? So when you look at this, you know, you can't make a truly informed decision until you know all your options. And so your options could be, I'm going to school. I'm going to go to school and become something, right? I'm going to get that MBA. You're going to get the project management degree, or you're going to become an independent contractor. The problem with that is that contract ends, then you're looking for a new contract. So you're really starting and stopping your career. However, there is a new statistic out there. 40% of the population will be 1099 or contractors, independent contractors by the year 2020. As far as I know, that's only 2 years out, right? Or you get into business and you start one from scratch, you buy a resale, or you get into franchising, right? So you have to develop your goals, your needs, and your objectives. So what kind of income, you know, and let me back up a little. There's two of these that are, the first two are kind of in the now, and the other two are long-term play. So when you look at income, what kind of income, you know, you're making an income right now in the military, you've got plenty of benefits. What does it look like to replace all of those benefits, your housing allowance, your medical, and things like that, and your pay? What kind of income do you need to make? What kind of income do you want to make in 5 years, in 10 years? What does that look like? And you really need to sit down and give that some thought. Lifestyle is probably as important to most transitioning military, because you end up with, you really need to figure out what that looks like. Do you want to be home for the kids to watch their games, or do you want to work Monday through Friday? You know, with the military, they're gone a lot on deployments or patrols or out at sea, and they get to see exotic places, however. And I always like to say they go on exotic business trips, extended business trips. But then you need to look at what kind of wealth you want to build. And the wealth is an ongoing piece. And then the equity, what does that look like? You're taking your nest egg and you're building something that when you do want to sit in a rocking chair and retire, you do have something that can be converted to cash for you, right? So you need to know which one of those is more important to you: income, lifestyle, equity, or wealth, right? Okay. Uh-oh. Come on. There we go. So advantages of being an entrepreneur: freedom, independence, flexibility. It can be a creative outlet. There's some excitement involved with owning a business. Satisfaction and a sense of achievement, that you're able to grow something and watch it prosper. Status and recognition. You know, when I can speak for the guys, when a guy meets another guy, he goes, "Hi, I'm Joe. I'm Mark. How are you today?" "I'm fine." "How's the weather?" "Good weather." "Hate weather." And then, "Hey, Joe, what do you do for a living?" "Well, I'm a plumber and I, you know, do this and work for a guy." "What do you do, Mark?" "Well, I own my own business and we help people transition from their current position into their own business through a process of education." And it is something you can be proud of, right? The one thing about job security, you can't be laid off or fired, right? And there's no cap on your income. The harder you work, the more income you can make, right? Also, you're growing your initial nest egg and watching that thing get bigger and bigger. Now, I found this quote, and I really like this quote because it really speaks to your first year in business. Entrepreneurship is living a few years of your life like most people won't, so you can spend the rest of your life like most people can't. When you get into a business, you are going to be in a very uncomfortable place for a period of time until you start generating real income and you figure out what you're doing, what works and what doesn't work. And it really does take a little bit of time. And we call that the ramp up time for you to get your business off the ground. But you're going to live you're going to work like you've never worked before, but it's different because you're working for you. You're not working for somebody else. You're spending 15-hour days building what's yours. So later on in a year or two, you can start backing off and working fewer and fewer hours, okay? There we go. So you want to make a difference? Small businesses make a difference. They represent 99.7% of all employers, employ more than 50% of the private sector employees. They represent 44% of the total private payroll. They generate more than 64% of all new jobs during the past 15 years, and they create more than 50% of the private gross domestic product. So here's the options for starting a career or starting a business. You can start a brand new business, and it can be consulting, manufacturing. It could be on the internet, or it could be a retail space like a haircut place, or you could have product that you sell. But you can also buy an existing business. There are businesses for sale. People retire. People get tired of running their business and want to sell it. Or you could be awarded a franchise and new or a resale. So the one thing I want to, if you haven't heard the term awarded a franchise, you don't buy a franchise, you invest in a franchise, and they don't sell franchises, they award franchises. And it's kind of like a marriage. They want to make sure that you're right for them, and you need to make sure that you're right for them. So when you look at buying something, you buy a car, drive it for 5 years, and you trade it in and get a different one, right? So when you invest in something, you have a nest egg that you're going to grow, and that is a very long-term play. So starting a new independent business, you have an idea that has a competitive advantage, easily identifiable customer base. Who are they? What age group are they? How much income do they make? How much disposable income do they have? And then you need to come up with a realistic business plan. And then I would recommend highly that you pull together an advisory board. And it can be, there's business incubators out there that can help you with some of this stuff. And then there's also business consultants, lawyers, sometimes lawyers, CPAs can help you, things like that, right? So what are the advantages and disadvantages of starting a business? Certainly, it's lower startup cost. You're independent because it's your company, your widget. You're not following anybody's program. You have creative freedom. You have freedom for location and procedures. There's no inherent problems from existing business owners because you're it, right? But there are some disadvantages, and it does take a little bit more time to get up and running. You have a higher risk of failure. It takes longer to become profitable just because you're having to develop. There's a lot of development on the front end. You are on your own. It can be difficult to find financing just strictly because the SBA really has a problem with guaranteeing loans for a company that has no background, right? And it can be expensive to develop the brand. A good example of that would be McDonald's. They spend about $450 million a year on marketing, maybe a little bit more. And they do a lot of brand building through that marketing. Sometimes if you watch their commercials, they never even talk about selling any food. They talk about different programs that they have running, right? So they have built a brand significantly for many, many years. But I'll tell you that when the first the McDonald's brothers had to build that brand, right? So you could buy an existing building. You have to develop some type of acquisition criteria, and that can be how much money you're willing to spend, what kind of service or product do you think you're going to do, what looks right for you, and then let me see whether or not you want employees and what all that looks like, right? And you can mine the contacts, lawyers, CPAs. CPAs sometimes get a sense on whether a person's ready to sell their business or know of people selling their business. Sometimes universities, professors have been consulting with people, and business brokers are always a good place to find existing businesses. You will pay, somebody will pay the broker's fees, just know that. So that's baked into your numbers. And then also the business coaches. There are business coaches out there that can help you with develop that. But you do need to develop a skilled support team for due diligence, because you need to prove and be able to say, hey, they're actually making this much money and they actually have this customer base and this product is a good product and they're moving it, or the service is needed in the community. So here's the advantages and disadvantages of the existing businesses. It requires less time and energy because it's up and running, right? The independence is still there, creative freedom kind of still there. The location is already determined. Financing can be a little bit easier to obtain. However, the business, if the business is successful, you need to be able to go to the SBA and say, hey, here's their history of profitability, and here are the margins and things like that. So they will actually request P&Ls from the past, profit and loss statements. The disadvantages is a higher initial investment because you're buying their profitability, and there's different ways of looking at it. So I would highly get somebody that's in the know about buying a business, right? Because it all depends upon what number you figure it on, right? A business can be doing millions and millions of dollars of business and still losing money. Just know that, right? Hard to determine the price, complicated due diligence. You're tied to the existing location, so you have no options on it unless you have come to the end of the lease, or you sell the property and you move into a new building or new location. You do inherit existing problems from the existing business owner, and sometimes with existing businesses that can go either way. So what is a business? A business is just an avenue to get profit and build your wealth, right? And would you rather build your own vehicle or drive a vehicle that's road tested like this one, right? It is something that, if you look at it from a different perspective, franchising is very similar to this. It's already been road tested. It's already been proven business models. The people have gone through all the hardship of writing all those manuals and doing their due diligence to grow the business to a point where they have a product or a service that is able to, they're able to franchise. And franchising, just so you know, is a very heavily regulated industry. There's certain procedures that they have to follow. They can't just go out and find investors. There are procedures that they have to follow, and sometimes it can be a little cumbersome, but they have to follow the law. Just know that. So here's some popular franchising. I mean, we've all seen restaurants, you know, the made places, the cleaning, the retail, automotive. You know, you see the automotive repair. A lot of those are franchises. Lodging, convenience, business services, education, health and beauty, real estate. There's a whole bunch of different categories. There's 4,000 different franchises in 80 different groups. And we at the Entrepreneur Source have 180 different franchises that we work with. So we're pretty, we cover most of the industry groups. We typically will have one or two in each industry group and different investment levels, just so you know. But 41% of all independent businesses are franchises. They contribute 1.5 trillion to the economy, generate more than 1 out of every 7 jobs, and the a new franchise opens every 8 minutes, which is kind of astonishing. I know that the company that I worked for at one time had a new restaurant opening every day, and then it got down to, for a while there, it was there was 2 a day. So, and that's pretty good growth, actually. So what is franchising? Franchising is a practice of the right to use a firm's business model and brand for the prescribed period of time. So when you look at, you're basically investing in a business in a box, and for typically a 10-year period, and then there's a small renewal fee typically. Sometimes there's a little bit less, sometimes it's a little bit more, and each franchisor can determine. We also have, by the way, non-franchises that are business opportunities that are a way of getting into business for yourself, and it's a business and you wouldn't be a franchise. So here's the advantages. The business is, you're in business for yourself, but you're not by yourself. You always have corporate for support in several different ways. Corporate support can be, I was one of the guys that supported franchises throughout the country. So sometimes they have that. Sometimes they have somebody, another franchise, be a mentor to you as you get started. And so there's different ways of support. They provide a certain level of independence because you are an independent business. You just happen to be a franchise, okay? Established product or service. You don't have to figure out what product or service you're selling. And let's see, use of a proven business system to increase the chances of success, right? The success rate of franchises, last statistics I saw, was about a 95% success rate. As an independent business, you're hitting about 50% after 5 years. But you're not completely independent. You're required to operate according to procedures and restrictions in the franchise agreement. There are fees, initial fees and royalties in advertising. Now, some people are opposed to that, but you get, they just don't take that money from you. They actually provide a product at a discounted price. They may have a marketing program in place, support, that's how they pay for their support and their marketing. So there is some real benefit to that. You don't need to have your own marketing team or go out and find your own supplies. There is a balance of restrictions and support. If another franchisee happens to damage the brand, or the franchisor gets into problems, you can run into a little bit of problems there. That's less likely. And then the contract terms are usually limited, and like I said, it's usually 10 years. So how do you, I told you I'd talk about financing a little bit. I'm going to get into this real top line. You know, you can, there's friends, family that can do that for you. It's home equity loan. If you have a home that has some equity, you can actually loan against that. And then there's actually signature loans. If you have a great credit score, you can do a signature loan to where you're getting a lot of money just by using your signature and your good credit. And that kind of falls into credit cards. And you think, why would I do credit cards? You actually get to use credit cards for up to 18 months interest-free. So it can be a gap loan. Entrepreneur pension, so your TPS or TSP, I'm sorry, your IRAs, and that can be actually rolled over into your business where your IRA buys your business, and they when you sell the business, the real benefit is two benefits. You end up not you don't have any kind of debt when you start your business. And then when you sell your business, the tax implications, you're not paying any capital gains because all of the funds go back into your 401k and you pay taxes at the time that you draw that out. And then there's venture capitals and angel investors. They're out there. They typically work with people that have something already figured out. But then there's the SBA and the SBA brokers. Now we work with companies that deal pretty heavily in the IRAs and the 401ks and SBA and SBA. They are brokers and they will help you through the process of funding your business and really figure out what's right for you, because not everybody can do an IRA, not everybody can do an SBA loan, but they figure out what's right for you. Now, the one thing I would tell you is that whatever your credit score is, you need to have your credit score above 680. If it's not above 680, you need to work on your credit score and mind your P's and Q's, because all of the funding starts at 680. The higher you go, the easier it is to get funding, okay? So that's just a bit of advice, is always, and never ever file bankruptcy if you absolutely can prevent it, because that will take you out from any kind of funding for your business. So I love this. You know, which one do you want to do? Do you want to kick butt, or do you want to keep on kissing it, right? So, and then this last slide is Tom Landry's quote. A coach is somebody who tells you what you don't want to hear, who has seen what you don't want to see, so you can be who you have always known you could be. And that's my job, is to draw out in you all of the success that you've had, and I present that success to franchisors and business opportunities that help you see the benefits of you being in the military and all that success that you had. So in summary, we want you to get information, education, and time through planning and are critical to overcome the F words. And the F words are fear, funding, financing, could be family, friends, could be finance or franchising. But so we want to educate you and be able to, so you can be able to understand what you need. Skills and training are very transferable and will help you succeed in franchising. I can't stress that enough. It is absolutely a misnomer that all the things you've done in the military that will not transfer. They absolutely will transfer. And if you have questions, I want you to email me at any time and start a conversation. And that's the end of my presentation today. Thank you very much for watching, and look forward to talking to each and every one of you.
All right, Mark, you did a great job. Thank you so much.
Thank
Mark
you.
with the Entrepreneur Source. Mark, during the presentation, you had mentioned briefly 1099 for the new veterans coming out of the military.
Okay.
Can you explain a little bit more? What is a 1099?
Well, a 1099 is the new type of employee for a lot of large companies where they don't have to, they hire you as a contractor. You're basically a contractor. So you file your own taxes. You're responsible for your own payroll and Social Security taxes. You're responsible for your own medical, dental, any life insurance or anything. You're responsible. You assume all of that risk for them. And all you are to them is a person that they're able to use. And when, frankly, have had many of my clients be contractors, and their biggest problem is they're starting and stopping their careers so many times. It looks great at the beginning, and they say, oh yeah, we're going to bring you on as an employee. And I have a friend that's never had that happen. He's been doing it for 10 years. And once you get into it, it's very difficult to get out of. So,
right.
I hope that explained it.
Yeah, definitely. So it's kind of like you have the option to work for yourself and control your own books, or work for somebody else and control your own books.
Yes, exactly. And it's you are a business because it's more of a pass through. It's a very passive type business, but yeah, you're your own business and you're responsible for all that. So they may pay you a little bit more, but you're going to have to pay taxes on the other end on it. So.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing your background.
Yep.
Sharing the examples that you went through, owning the pizza franchises, and your success coming out of the military, transitioning, and just taking the leap. You had mentioned the F's, getting away from fear. You know, what were some of the things that your aha moment? Where did you overcome your fear? I know fear is a lot of the big word, and it affects a lot of veterans who are transitioning. They're not always too sure what they're going to do with the second career, the second opportunity.
Yeah.
What were some of the techniques and best practices that you would recommend that veterans do to get over fear in jumping into their own businesses?
Well, first of all, I'd like to just say that if they don't have fear, they're not normal, right? Because, you know, if take a guy that has been in for 19 and a half years, right? They've been had a pretty structured life for 19 years, and now there's some freedom coming their way. There's some apprehension there, right?
Yeah.
So the one thing you have to do is educate yourself on your options. You have to be able to look at, I've got all of this stuff that I've done. I've led people. I've been responsible for millions and millions of dollars of equipment, and I've been promoted through the years. I've got what it takes to be successful, right? And you have to lean on yourself and just know that you can do anything you want to do, but you have to be able to break through that fear because it can be real.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much, Mark, with the Entrepreneur Source. Definitely check back toward the beginning of the webinar for the contact information, the emails. Mark, thank you so much for your time today and sharing your information with us. It seems like
I really appreciate Hire GI, everything you guys do.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you, first of all, for your military service, serving in the Navy.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Being a veteran myself and seeing what you've done it's really inspiring. Seeing what you provide with the Entrepreneur Source, it's inspiring because it provides an alternative opportunity. We don't have to get out of the military and necessarily continue to work our way back up. We can do our own venture, our own process, and you've really enlightened us and veterans on how to make that happen. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
All right, we're going to conclude today's webinar. To see this webinar and other webinars provided by Hire GI, please visit hiregi.com and check out our employer webinar series. This webinar will be replayed. Look at the calendar to see replaying dates, replaying times for this webinar and other webinars. Mark, thank you again.
Yep.
Thank you all.